Home church is church made simple. We're in the middle of an ongoing pandemic, and church is going to look different than it did in the past. And that's okay. In this season, our hope is to see churches meeting in all kinds of creative spaces. In fact, we've already seen churches that are meeting in parks, on walks, in yards, and in living rooms. The key is circling up some people you feel comfortable with and meeting consistently. Our heart is to see you spiritually growing in this time. Now, if you're currently hosting a group or you're interested in hosting a group and want to know more information, just email us at info@whitewaterchurch.org and we'll get you started.
Hey, Whitewater family, thanks for tuning in. It's so great to see you all.
It's never been easier to share our service with your friends and neighbors. Just copy the link and share it out.
And we just wanted to give a special shout out to all of those kids out there that you guys are starting school for the first time. We're so excited for you guys, and we know that this year looks a little bit different, but we can't wait to just get to be a part of celebrating it with you.
And for those of you going back to school this year, I know it seems a little weird, but you're going to have a great year.
Thanks again for joining us today, and stay tuned at the end for Whitewater Kids.
Enjoy the service.
Praise be a weapon that silences the enemy. The praise be a weapon that conquers all anxiety. Let it rise. Let praise arise. Sing your name in the dark and it changes everything. We sing with all we are and we claim your victory. Let it rise, let praise arise. Sing this with me. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch as giants fall. We cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lift him high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, yeah. The faith be the song that overcomes the raging sea. The faith be the song that calms the storm inside of me. Let it rise. Let faith arise. Come on, sing it. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch as giants fall. Fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side. Forever lift him high. With all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, break it down. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, and this is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, sing it out. This is what freedom looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, and this is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch as giants fall. Fear cannot survive
I'm George.
I'm Sarah. You know, we are with you guys. We're praying for you guys, and we hope that you have community around you. And I know that as COVID, we're hitting a new world. It is a new world to navigate. And I know as a parent, we've really struggled in some ways of like, what do we do in this season? I know some parents are homeschooling. Some people are looking at other options. We're looking at how technology works. I know that I was on the phone for 3 hours trying to figure out a computer, and I know that gets tense and anxious, and that makes me in a bad mood, and then I take it out on my family, and I've just tried to really choose to connect with God and connect with my family in those. I go back to verses on love, the 1 Corinthians 13, or to give my anxiousness up to God in Philippians 4. Like, I know I need to read that every morning sometimes, or I need to let God transform my thinking and not be transformed to the pattern of the world. So reading like a Romans 12, you know, I just kind of pick key things that I know I'm going to face each day to really kind of equip me to deal with those things and to speak truth in love rather than get frustrated. Anyone making decisions in the COVID world as an organization, it's hard. And so just giving lots of grace and praying for those people. So whether that's your work business world, whether that's the school world, whether that's nonprofits, everyone's making hard decisions right now, and to have grace for that and pray for each other.
Just a lot of decision fatigue, like
Yes.
what we've been going through with schooling for our kids. And
What's for dinner? Taco time.
we have a really special service today. We have an interview with a few friends, I think, that are really going to help us with this fall and this new reality we're in. Now, being part of the Christian faith tradition is really amazing because we have a lot of history and wisdom to draw from. A basic, simple text that I want to use as a launching pad is found in Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 7. It says, "Seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile." So this is a prophet speaking to the exiles. Those who feel stuck are now being told, no, you've been sent by God. It goes on to say, "Pray to the Lord for it, the city, because if it prospers, you too will prosper." So Jeremiah is teaching the exiles to love their enemies and to participate in the world around them the best that they can, rather than to just cloister or shut down. Now, here's the 3 shifts I want to talk to you about. The first is the shift from temple to tabernacle. In this time, before the Babylonian captivity, the Jewish faith and spirituality was temple-centered. It was very centralized. In the Babylonian captivity, it shifted to a tabernacle-centered faith. And so it was community-based, and tabernacles, communities of faith, kind of popped up in different areas. And it was very empowering for the individuals in that time. We're in the middle of an ongoing pandemic, and church isn't going to look like it traditionally has, and that's okay. And we can learn from this time in history where the church moved from a more centralized to decentralized mode of being. And that's what we're doing with home church. And I want to encourage you to form a community and be the church in maybe some new ways and some creative ways in this season. The second shift I want to talk to you about is moving from disengagement to engagement. In Jeremiah 29, it says, "Seek the peace of the city." Don't withdraw, like engage. Seek the peace of the city that I've sent you to. You're not stuck, you're sent. God he's not surprised by any of this. He knows what we're going through. And many of us have, without maybe knowing it, we are prepared to be peacemakers in this time. And so I want to just encourage people. We have, teachers who are getting ready to teach and in whole new ways. We have people in business sector and government sector and, all throughout our community. And they're working for the peace of our area. Let's work with others who are trying to bring peace and wholeness to our communities right now. And let's thank them for what they do. The last shift is moving from being settled to being disrupted. And right now, it is a time of disruption, just like it was for the Jews in exile. Just imagine as they're being moved, deported to a new country, new language, new technology, new idolatrous gods that are being worshipped in a culture that they don't want to be in. They don't like their circumstances. They felt like total captives. Any of you feel like you're captive right now? Think about the parents. What are we going to do with our kids? We want them to maintain our faith, and we don't want them to lose, their faith in Yahweh. We don't know these new technologies. We don't know the new language. We don't know the new material that they're supposed to learn. And I think there's a lot of families facing those fears right now. And I want to encourage you with this. When we go from settled to disruption, it is hard. It is difficult. There's no doubt about it. But it can be some of the most creative and character-forming times of our lives. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, the characters in the book of Daniel, and many other leaders emerged. Some of the greatest leaders and greatest character was formed during exile, during captivity. And I just want you to know, your kids will be okay. We might feel like, they're missing a year. And this probably was over a year of transition. And God still used and formed some amazing people of faith. We're going to turn it over to the experts. I hope you enjoy this.
Hi, Whitewater. I'm Kate Konzelman, and I am a mental health counselor at Well Counseling.
My name is Brandon Bakke. I am a member of the Whitewater community, first of all, and I'm also a principal at a high school here in Pierce County.
Hi, my name is Aaron Schiffelbein, and I'm an elementary school counselor over in Moscow, Idaho.
My heart just hurts for kids right now. I think I have a lot of youth in my office with severe anxiety and depression, suicidal ideation. And I just want to say, you guys are doing it. You are hanging in there and you are tough. This is unprecedented. And we are all learning how to go through this together. I encourage you to take breaks on social media. I know this is very hard for you to do, but social media is going to tell you that all your friends are doing great and they're fine and they're doing totally fine. And it's not true. We only show our best moments on social media, and that comparison can lead to anxiety, like you're missing out on something or your life isn't like theirs. Move your body. Your anxiety is housed in your body. So the more you move, the more that's going to kind of release. And you may not know totally what anxiety is, but if you're feeling like you have a tummy ache or your chest is tight or you just feel fidgety all the time, this is kind of those emotions that are just circulating in your body. So go on a walk, go on a run if you're a runner, go play outside, get that fresh air, even if it's just for a little bit. That'll really help.
I'm really having just a difficult time for my kids. I feel my students, my kids, I feel that there's so much loss that's happening at a lot of different levels. I know with my student body on our first day, we're going to grieve. But then I'm going to move to the next day, and I'm going to try really hard to help my students realize the greatest moments in human history have come on the cusp of some of the worst tragedies and experiences. And I talked to my students last spring just about the Great Depression. And that was the same generation that's now called the greatest generation. And the resolve that they forged during those years of dark times are the same skills that helped them change the world in World War II. If you think about everybody's greatest moments in their life, their greatest accomplishment, I bet you that it's tied to something that was really hard, some adversity they had to overcome, and that's what made it great. This is their moment. This is our moment. So I would say to my students and teachers and families, just do your best, and that's enough.
I've been doing a lot of reading on anxiety and how the common approach to treating anxiety is to work with kids and change how they're thinking and about the things that are making them anxious. And how a lot of recent research is emerging that's saying that if parents are able to manage their anxiety in a healthy way, manage their emotions in a healthy way, that's actually having a lot of positive benefits equal to actually the other approach in kids as well. If you want to help your kids, help yourself first, I think is an important thing to think about. And I would encourage people to find counseling, find someone that they can trust, and to get some ideas for how to make changes and to even create awareness of what those things are. Often we're not aware of what we're doing that is creating kind of a feedback loop in our kids. And so having the courage to seek out counseling and help for yourself, I think, can create the kind of change that we want to see in our kids and lasting change over time. I think appropriate sharing of how you're feeling as an adult with your kids is good too. To say like, yeah, boy, today I was frustrated about something at work and that was hard. Yeah, I've been feeling a little anxious about this, or I'm not sure what's going to happen. And kind of modeling healthy emotional processing for your kids, I think is a good thing, especially the little ones getting down to their level, physically being able to, kneel and talk with them face to face, eye to eye, and ask questions. What's been on your mind lately?
If we're always comparing our situation to others, we will lose empathy for ourselves. And then if we lose empathy for ourselves, we lose empathy for others. My husband lost his job to COVID. And I could consider that a really big, for us, that was a big loss. But I also have a friend who didn't get to get married after, planning her wedding for a year. Well, that's a huge loss, right? So it really isn't helpful for me to compare those sufferings. Instead, to just allow myself to acknowledge that what we're going through as a family has been tough on us. What they're going through as a couple has been very tough on them, and that there should be empathy for both. Create that empathy, that space for empathy. Like Erin suggested, like family conversations, lead in that. They will follow your lead. What I'm seeing with kids as I process this is they have a hard time. If I just ask, how you doing? They have a hard time putting that into words like, oh, I'm fine, So we go through an emotion scale. So, okay, so on sadness, 0 to 10, 10 being the most sad, 0 being not sad at all. Where are you at on the sadness scale? Where are you at on the, hopeful scale? Where are you at? And this is a good way to talk with your kids about what they're feeling. I think sometimes we're afraid to ask kids hard questions. But when we do, you will be amazed at the answers you find, because they are already thinking it. They have answers about what they're thinking about with Black Lives Matter, with COVID-19, with the school situation. These kids are smart. They are thinking these things, and they need permission to talk about it with their parents now more than ever, because they don't have that context with their friends or their teachers who they may normally confide in, school counselors.
I don't know if people realize how hard educators are working right now. Trying to learn how to teach in a medium that is foreign to most of us is in weeks' time is just daunting. I don't know how to be a principal in an environment like this. I'm having to learn it. We've been using that word empathy a lot today, and I think that goes kind of two ways too. Is some of my best teachers are the most relational, the ones that just care about kids the most and love them, struggle the most with technology. Their skill set, their secret magic that they bring every day that gets kids to want to come, it's mitigated to some extent, and they're feeling like, they feel inadequate, and that's just a tough spot to be in, but I'm trying. And as I've told my staff, I really feel like when we get through this, we will be a better school because we've gone through it as a staff. And I think our students also, I'm really hoping they come back with even a greater appreciation for some things maybe that they were taking for granted. But I really hope that when we get through it, we're going to find good that comes from it.
I was talking to my principal today about this and reflecting on how going on to summer break, from being in the midst of a pandemic to where we are now, how most teachers haven't really had the time to recharge that they would have in the way that they typically recharge over the summer. That anxiety of what is the fall going to look like, checking my email all the time, looking for updates. That I would say to teachers that it's so important to take care of yourself, and that's such a hard thing to do. And setting boundaries, I think, is so important for teachers. Logging off and not checking messages and not responding to messages on the weekends after a certain time. I'm seeing a counselor right now over, Zoom, and it's fantastic. And I know that I'm going to need that as I'm coming into this school year, supporting students and teachers and parents. So take care of yourselves.
I don't believe that this was all part of God's plan per se. That he said, "Oh, I'm going to create COVID-19 to teach everybody some big lesson that's going to happen." And a lot of well-meaning Christians might, have that mentality and say to somebody who's really going through something hard, like, "Oh, this is all part of God's plan." Well, I don't know about that. I know that God doesn't do sin, and so I do think though that God is the great master at making good out of something bad. So we got to find that good that he is creating out of this situation. We got to dig deep for that. We got to find it. Sometimes it's small. I know a lot of people have talked about how we've been forced to be with our families more. There's good that can come out of that. And I think this next season, as we go into this school year, there's going to be some good things that come out of this for kids. We just got to search for them and hunt for them.
Finding your people, finding a group that you connect with and that you can consistently connect with. I know that Whitewater is doing home church right now, and I think that's a great way to form a group where you can connect and continue to grow spiritually, emotionally, and mentally in a safe community. And I know that people are really tired of using technology to do that, and there's probably a lot of questions like, how do I do that safely? But I think being intentional about forming those groups is going to be a great way to combat isolation.
We can make expectations and those will fall. I mean, I think a lot of us, again, full circle, had expectations that the school year would look normal, when everything started happening in the spring. So I hesitate even to make expectations about next year, because I just think we have to be careful with where if that's what hope is for us, that can be very crushing and disappointing. As believers, we can find hope in the fact that ultimately our confidence and our security does not come from our government, the condition of our world, and how things are going around us. I think it's easy for that to feel like it is, that's where my security comes from, but reminding ourselves that ultimately it's beyond that for us. It's not attached to our circumstances. So it's harder to live that out than to say it, but there's a lot of hope there.
We hope that you found the advice from the experts practical for you. We know that not everyone has kids. If you don't, you could be praying for parents and students and teachers and counselors, all of the education world right now. As we enter fall, why don't you just pray with me? Lord, thank you that you're with us every step of our lives. And as we approach fall, I just pray that you would be with parents as we gear up to help kids, as we're working, as we're being a parent. There's so many things that we're juggling. I pray that you would give a peace that passes all understanding to all the what if questions and have I made the right decision? And I pray for teachers and the education staff. Lord, I know that some of them haven't got rest. And while some people think that online education is easier, I'm sure most educators are putting in double the time that they usually do just to figure things out. Lord, I pray that you would give them productivity. I pray that you would just give them eyes to see kids right now, that's why they went into the profession, and really fulfill them and have them be able to meet kids where they're at right now. And Lord, I do just pray for kids as they start new patterns. Maybe they don't get to see their friends. I pray that you'd really give them also a peace that passes all understanding. I pray that you would calm their anxiety. I pray that as if depression is setting in, that you'd give parents tools to help their kids, if that's connecting with counselors, whether that's connecting with friends and community. I just pray that you'd give them lots of wisdom in this season. And we know we surrender all these things to you, Lord. We know you're working in the ordeal, and that you're with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Amen. 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 Lord bless you and keep you. May his grace shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. Amen. Amen. Let's bring it down.
May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your families, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his favor be upon you and 1,000 generations, and your families, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his presence go before you and behind you and beside you, all around you and within you. He is with you. He is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming and your going, in your weeping and rejoicing. He is for you. 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 He is for you.
Hey guys, I just want to thank everyone who's been financially partnering with us right now. We couldn't do it without you. If you would like to partner with us financially, there's 2 ways you can do that. The first way is right online, whitewaterchurch.org. The second way is, if you're old school, you could always mail us in a check. If you'd like to get involved with any of the ways that we're blessing the community during the week, just take a look at this list, and if any of those interest you, send us a message and we will connect you.
Guys, thanks for joining us today. I'm excited to see you next week, and we're going to be starting our new series on really how we as a community can experience joy in these times. Love you so much. If you got kids, click on the link.